Welcome to a ham hang, John, on a Wednesday afternoon. What's up, YouTube?
Nothing like a little ham hang, baby.
Got some NFL draft today. We are a day away from being a week away from the NFL draft. How you feeling? How's your stomach?
Are those boxes in the back? Have you been slinging some product?
My man. These are let me turn my YouTube audio off. These are so we've got a whole process here, John. We got some of these ham hats are waiting to be boxed. We've got some of them are boxed but not yet taped. We've got a couple that are taped waiting to be shipped. Yeah, there's a lot going on over here at the warehouse.
You are the opposite of the Portnoy and the unboxing. You are boxing it up to send out to ship to people.
That's right. I've thought about doing. I've actually made a couple videos that are reboxing videos. Somebody just returning stuff. I thought that'd be a funny idea. So that hat looks good. Let's see how much product we got here left. We'll give you a merch update. I know I do want to just put boxes everywhere, like tape my finger, like I cut myself on a like Portnoy.
I think I deserve some blame. If I remember correctly, I was scared that the red hat might not sell as much as the black hat, and I'm pretty sure the red hat is more popular than the black hat. Is that fair to say?
It's funny you say that because I thought I was the one that was afraid to get more red hats, and I just wanted black hats. I can't remember. Maybe we ended up agreeing on that.
Yeah, I don't know. One of us definitely thought the red would not be as popular, and I think it is very popular.
You thought it was going to be more popular. That's what, as I remember it. I didn't.
It's been a while.
But yeah, so we've got a handful of red hats left and a few handfuls of black hats left. Here's the update. If you have ordered a hat, you just email promocodeham@gmail.com and you put in your Venmo, your address, and your order. Right now, we have government has put a stop to our, or actually it's Venmo. I've requested the amount of Venmos I'm allowed to request for the day. So if you put in an order and you haven't received a Venmo request yet, don't worry, it's coming. If you have received, almost everyone who's we've got most orders are on their way to being fulfilled, John. They're moving down the warehouse line right now. So we'll be sending out the first batch hopefully later today.
I like it.
How about that?
You're like Arthur Smith's dad at FedEx. Arthur. Or Fred Smith? I think his name's Fred Smith. Yeah.
I went to the FedEx Kinko's to get like a bunch of tape yesterday, and there was a guy there who had like several boxes of it looked like hoodies or something he was mailing out. And I kind of like did the thing where I kind of hover to see if there'd be a moment that I could just ask him like, "Hey man, like, are you printing these yourself? Like, because maybe we could talk. We'd love to have somebody do like a third party that does it all. We don't touch it." But he was pretty stressed out, like most people. 99% of people at the FedEx Kinko's are stressed to the max.
Yeah. I see a lot of contentious might be strong, but like at a UPS, when you get a little bit older of like a lady and you just tell she's on a warpath, you're like, "Hey, ma'am, go ahead. You just I'm just printing out a return from Amazon. Yeah. You look furious."
Exactly. Nobody's ever at Kinko's a week early, right?
No.
It's always like it needs to get done right this second. This needs to get shipped out. It's for Christmas. Christmas was yesterday. It's got to go. So Lucas asked,
do you have a printer in your office?
No.
Yeah.
Do you?
No.
Just until someone makes a printer that is like not taking up half of your desk space.
I do think they've improved little printers.
Have they? I was talking to my dad yesterday, and his print. He's like, "I don't know what this printer's doing right now." So I was like, "I don't think anything's changed."
Yeah. Remember how big at like an office the printer/copy machine was? It's like the size of a Prius. Thing was huge. And they're still, because when I go to UPS to print something, it comes out of the machine that when I worked in the NFL or college where the game plans get tweeted, that thing is massive.
I know.
How much do one of those, if you had to guesstimate, what does that machine cost? Like
$16,000?
16?
I don't know. You think that's too high? 9,000 maybe?
Yeah, I guess there's a lot going on. I know when
16,
they break.
It can't be the cost of a car.
When they break, people freak. Do cars cost 16 anymore? I think most cars now are like 25.
I mean, a used vehicle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Someone just asked. Lucas asked, "Is that the Kyle Shanahan?" No, it's the Shanahan. It says promo code ham on it. I actually got somebody put in their order. They almost bought the Shanahan hat last week, and then they saw the Shanahan. And then, sorry, that was confusing. And then I got a couple of people who are Raiders fans who are like, I'll take the black. I'm a Raider fan. Send me the black. I appreciate that, man. We're all one. So
we can send Mark one, tell him everything's going to be all right.
Davis?
Yeah.
Oh, it took me a second to know which Mark you were talking about. Rob said you could spend 100 can of printer and still be a piece of trash. They always manage to fuck up at some point. Yeah.
I do think printers now, because remember, like when we were in college, even if you got a printer for like your desk, everything had to be plugged in. Now I think they're, Wi-Fi, and it is a little more easier to operate.
Yeah.
I would guess. I would never get a printer. I remember when I lived with Bobby Wigington, who's your friend now as well. I remember him saying to me one time, like, my goal, and this was going into 2013, like next year to be paperless, do nothing on paper. It's like, that's a strong goal. He really was.
That was a guy who probably had to sign a lot of
Do you
contracts.
automate a lot of bills?
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. Jacob says, welcome from across the pond. We'll see what happens when we got a couple orders from Hawaii. I don't know what the elevated shipping cost on that's going to be. Unfortunately, we are not. I've had a few people ask. We are not shipping internationally because that's a very elevated shipping cost. We're just learning the merch game right now, John. We're learning the merch game.
Canada shut down, so I've had a couple guys from Canada. Sorry,
international. Jackson says, "Is this going to be a podcast?" It's interesting. Before we dive into a couple things, I mean, it's probably hard to tell because we're kind of trying to do as much stuff as we can. Some of the YouTube streams are the podcast recording, and those are the ones where usually at the end of it, we get to the YouTube comments. Some of them, like today, are just YouTube only hangouts, and that's where the comments, throughout the entire thing are a part of the show. So hopefully the more we do these, the more you'll be able to kind of feel the difference. Hopefully they're both entertaining, all that. But
you cut out the YouTube comments on the podcast, like for yesterday?
No, I didn't. I left that conversation.
You just leave it.
Yeah, I leave that in because I want people who only hear the podcast to know, hey, you can come hang out with us on YouTube.
Smart. I like that.
Judd says, I'm Guy, I'm John. Bring it back. Hashtag bring it back. Hey, I'm Guy.
I'm Billy.
Hopefully, I don't know what that does. Respond to something else, something about Jalen Hurd. We'll probably get to that topic later. So, anyway, we will do a podcast tomorrow. We weren't planning to do news of the day. We're just going to BS about some stuff. But since there is some NFL draft news, we should probably dive into that.
Yes, we should.
Do the people want to, hey, I'm Guy and I'm John? Do you want to give it to them?
Yeah, why not?
All right, here we go. Hey, what's up? I'm Guy.
I'm John.
It's our YouTube channel. Subscribe to it and give this video a like.
Podcasts below in the description, as well as our new partners at wineaccess.com/ham.
Go get you some 20% off, wineaccess.com/ham. They have wine clubs, but this is not subscription based. You can just buy a couple bottles of wine, whatever you want. It is a satisfaction guarantee. If you don't love the bottle you get, and you're going to love it because it's unanimously approved by all their wine experts, they'll give you another bottle, whatever you want.
Well, to me, you could send gifts. We sent a gift this hopefully well received to some important people yesterday. I had someone who is also associated with those important people, but he does a little something else, sent me a text last night. I don't know if you had told him, because he's like, did you guys send me a gift? Now, luckily, he was messing with you or me. I'll tell you after, but I was like, God, we probably should send him something too. Especially because there might have been sideline passes that he took care of once upon a time, so I might have to send him something.
Okay, yeah, we'll get on that.
You can send gifts. I know a lot of people who, like, I'm historically more of a cocktail guy. A lot of girlfriends, wives, big wine drinkers. Just get them a present. All of a sudden, 4 bottles of Pinot or Cab arrive, and it's like, honey, this is for you, baby. And like you said, it could be $15, $50. They have everything. Super high end, low end. But the low end is still better. It's still high end because of the level of which it takes to get in wineaccess.com/ham. 20% off. Can't beat it.
Go get it. All right, everybody. And we'll have our bottles next week when we do the Thursday live stream. So news of the day. Bruce Feldman talked to a bunch of NFL people over a long period of time and came up with several quotes. This is the one that a lot of us have been paying attention to. He asked, are you on the Mac Jones bandwagon? Here's what QB Coach 1, that's a code name for one of the people he spoke to, said. I am driving the bandwagon. I noticed something last year, the prior year, after Tua got hurt and Mac went in, they stopped running RPOs and started calling drop back stuff. And I was like, oh, they trust him. But he's more than just that. I think he's the best thrower of the football by a lot. Zach Wilson is freaky, but he's not hitting people in stride. Mac is processing. He's accurate. He's layering it. He has pinpoint accuracy. Throws with anticipation. Those people who say all he did was throw to guys who were wide open and threw from a clean pocket, turn on A&M, Georgia, or Michigan and Auburn games from last year where he got the shit beat out of him. He's getting hit and he's getting moved. People say he's not athletic, but what are we talking about? Just he looks bad without a T-shirt? Does that mean he's a bad athlete? Because he has some baby fat? I love him. He was substantially better in the interviews than all the other quarterbacks.
One thing I have heard about Mac, I'm not talking. I think what they did is typically at the combine, that picture of Tom Brady that is always still like he makes fun of it still where he looks flabby. During that period where you do a little, a 360 and they see your back fat and stuff, you also usually sit down and they read you an interview. You do an interview that's kind of a generic interview. And you just some guys just blow it away. I think they did something like that for guys. They had to do it, the combine guys that just go around the league separate from the Zoom interviews. I've heard Mac's interview, just his generic one, is like, damn, this is a dude. And that's not nothing because the intangible stuff matters. Now, I've heard good things about Field and obviously good things about Lance too. So it's not like he's competing against, two questionable human beings, but that matters. There is no disputing that. And I think in a day and age, we follow college football closely when guys are transferring at record rates at quarterback. There's something to be said about like he went in there with the mindset, and his dad said it on this ESPN special I watched. We never approached it as the backup quarterback. We approached it as the starter in waiting. I mean, that is the type of shit that gets these quarterback coaches and offensive coordinators and Kyle Shanahan. They go from 6 to midnight pretty quick when they hear stuff like that. They just do. And you know what? There isn't there something to be said about that? About
Absolutely.
Him just going to Alabama?
About competition. Because in the
NFL,
there's
I want to be with the best.
Competition. You don't get to transfer out, right? The funny thing is I'd be curious if someone's done a breakdown on RPOs the year he took over for Tua versus last year. Because I remember some of what I've read is that they ran a ton of RPO. I mean, we watched him. He did a ton of RPO stuff at Alabama this year. So I don't know if that guy's just talking about
when he just threw him in there. Yeah. I remember watching the Michigan game, which if I remember correctly might have been on January 1st in the morning before some of the other major games. Maybe I'm off a date. And he was just throwing bombs and absolutely curb stomping Harbaugh. Now, granted, he had the 4 guys, right? He had Waddle, Judy, Ruggs, and Devontae.
So why are these guys in this game?
I remember like 3 passes in thinking like, God damn, this guy's pretty good. And that's the hard part I think about this whole period of time. If you don't want the Niners to take Mac, it feels like you think the guy's a scrub. Like, I do not think he's not an NFL player. I don't think that he can't be a good NFL player. I'm just talking about at 3, given what they traded up for. It feels very, very bold. And back to what the quarterback coach says, I'm with you. Like, it's not about like just because he's a little chubby. I bet Kirk Cousins didn't have a great body coming out. Derek Carr didn't look like he does now. Jimmy Garoppolo. But we're talking about guys that were not number 3 overall picks. Like, we have to have the caveat when we talk about Mac Jones is part of this is the trade up. Like, has anyone ever traded up? Now, it hasn't been that many major trade ups. Like, it's one of the biggest in NFL history, right? Given 12 to 3 first-round picks. But for a guy with his physical skill set and his height, like it's not like he's 6'5".
Yeah, to give up what you gave up for him, he's got to be a franchise quarterback that in 4 years, 5 years, when he gets more expensive, he can carry the team. He can make up the gap, right, that is created when he gets paid a disproportionate amount of your salary cap. I mean, that's what it's about. That's what it's about when you give up other first-round picks.
I'd also say this. If you get a guy in an interview process, like if I'm looking to hire, you and I are running a podcast operation, and we look at all the guys coming out of Syracuse, their journalism school, like those guys are probably going to be more buttoned up than maybe a dude that just like, hey man, I'm just it might have something, but he's coming from like Arizona State or just some random school. You're like, I think this, but the guy at Syracuse is like taking all these classes. He's been preparing for. You're just like, God, this guy's ready. That to me is Alabama. Like they approach everything you do as like an NFL player. So you are just wired in this cocoon of greatness, which is a good thing, but it also like it's not realistic. Like eventually you just get to go into the wild, which is the NFL, where you have dramatically more free time. You're not always terrified of Nick, and just the entire thing that comes with that. The sports psychologist, and I'm not saying Ohio State doesn't have that, but I know for a fact North Dakota State doesn't have that. Like I can't expect what I hear out of Trey Lance's mouth, just talking life, and like Mac Jones is going to be just on a higher level about some of the stuff. And North Dakota's winning championships or whatever, but it is a different world, right? Fargo, North Dakota.
Just the exposure, the pressure. Yeah.
And we've also seen like looking back, I just think things change right away, and you do like the one thing you would know right away. It wouldn't determine whether he's going to be a good player or not, but if they did take Mac Jones and you were just watching a preseason game, like you would have a pretty good grasp of like his physical skills fast. You'd be like, you either think, okay, this works, or like, whoa.
Isn't it wild? You watch an NFL game and immediately if a guy's debut, you're like, he looks big all of a sudden. He looks small all of a sudden, right? Like to me,
that was a Johnny Manziel thing.
Brandon Ayuk was the opposite. Brandon Ayuk to me in college, my eyes. Maybe just the way I thought about him, right? I thought he would look smaller in the NFL. He doesn't.
And he looks faster.
Yeah, and he looks faster. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. I think here's one thing. If he drafts Mac Jones, a couple things, really. One, did he really consider Lance or Fields, or did he just do all of the investigation of these guys so that he wouldn't get stuck in the position he was when he didn't even look at the quarterbacks in 2017, where he had to admit, I wasn't watching the quarterbacks. We thought we were getting Kirk Cousins. Because it's better to have not watched Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes than to have watched them and not thought they were going to be any good, right? So you couldn't say that. Like he had to do his due diligence on all these guys so he could defend whoever he drafted. Like part of it is just, I'm going to make this pick, but we've got as an organization got to be able to make sure that we did our due diligence, because there's going to be a lot of outside pressure on this. And also it's just the right thing to do from a drafting standpoint. But
that to me is the key. It's just that's just what you do.
It is what you know. You're right. And Kyle just does what he does. He's not so much worried about the pressure. I don't think. Look, if Kyle drafts Mac Jones, I don't think it will be because Kirk Cousins is his ideal quarterback. Because I think he would love Josh Allen. Like he would love. I think he wanted to get Matthew Stafford. I think he wanted to get Deshaun Watson. Right? Like he would love all of that. Right? I think it'll be because he thinks this guy is more likely to be really good than the other two guys, which again, we would come back and say, we think you can make these other guys really good too. But he sees too much of Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes and Russell Wilson and Kyler Murray. He had too much success against Jared Goff for me not to believe he would be open. I believe to my core he's open-minded to the Trey Lances, the Justin Fields of the world. I think if he drafts Mac Jones, it's because he thinks that guy's going to be a better player than those other two.
My question would be, and I don't even know how I'd get on this Zoom call because Bob Lang disappeared on us to the Philadelphia. But if I could get a hold of that Zoom call, I mean, I'm not a big press conference guy. My question would be, I think it's fair to assume that if you draft Mac Jones, he was on the tip of your tongue when you made the trade. In what world did you guys come to the conclusion that you had to get to 3 to get Mac Jones? Like, who else did you think was taking Mac Jones really high?
Yeah.
Because on the outside, and I know the league doesn't believe that. Like, why did you guys have that conviction that we had to get to 3 to get Mac Jones?
Yeah, that's where the Panthers thing maybe the Panthers were a part of that equation, right?
Yeah, and I'd say, well, then they end up with Sam Darnold, who has nothing in common with Mac Jones. Like his players.
Right. But if they draft Mac Jones, you'd say he doesn't have anything in common with Deshaun Watson. You tried to get Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
You're just
But I'd say, like,
analyzing the cost.
You look back at Rule's career, right, at Baylor, and then even at Temple, he had more athletic quarterbacks. Then who did he bring in? The dude from the AAF that's a little athletic guy. Like, I do think they kind of – and then they get Sam Darnold. Like, yeah. I do believe they kind of want athletes. And I believe Kyle's talked about that athlete. That to me would be the thing. It's like when these quarterback coaches – like, no one's saying he's like a bad athlete relative to human beings. We're talking about relative to this group.
To the other
guys. And I think he is by far – And when I just say this group, I'm just including Trey Lance and Justin Fields. Like, they're in a different stratosphere than him as athletes.
Right.
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 I mean, and size. They're bigger, stronger. They have bigger arms. And I think it would get back to, listen, I think part of the draft, which is so different than free agency, is, and I know this is hard for people and even a coach who they're going to try to win this year, is it's not about this year. Like, it wasn't about Patrick Mahomes' rookie season. It really, I think they would tell you, like, we didn't expect him to be that good even his second year, right, when he won the MVP. But it was a big picture move. Same with Josh Allen, who took the more conventional route, right? It took him a while to get better and better and better. And then I guess unconventionally, he just kept getting better. Like, it feels like there's no ceiling on him. But like, do you feel Mac Jones' ceiling's that high relative to these other guys? You between Trey Lance and Justin Fields, you didn't believe one of those two guys in the next 5 years, if this was a car race, could not only pass him, but like lap him.
Especially with Kyle Shanahan as their coach.
Especially with you. Like, who would you say the Niners' number one asset is, player or coach?
Yeah, it's Kyle.
Yeah. Who is a quarterback guru, offensive coordinator, offensive guy. I guess. But that gets back to, if this is what he wants, like, who is anyone to tell him that?
Well, there is no one to tell him.
Well, there is no one to tell him. No, that guy doesn't. But I'm just saying, even if I do believe, though, that's where the healthy discussion, once upon a time, and it's cool, like, as things age, when they go well, you really get the real story. Like, a couple years into the Russell Wilson, Pete was like, yeah, I was just anti-small little guys. I was like, John, you can bring him here. And then I met him, and I was like, I kind of like him. And then even when the draft, I was like, John, we cannot take this guy in the second round. He's like, Pete, we got to get this guy. He's like, I'll let you take him in the third round. But it's easy to be open about it. Pete Carroll would have to say, to this day, the best thing he ever did on that was ultimately listen to John Schneider, right?
Yep.
I mean, on that move. It changed Pete Carroll's life as an NFL coach.
Yep.
And that to me is where the Mac Jones thing, I will not believe. And I've known Adam Peters for a decade. He doesn't tell me anything. He's actually kind of an old school NFL guy for being a younger guy. He's not a big, like, I don't even ask him, but he's not a self-promoter or leak to the media guy. But you can't convince me that either Adam or John Lynch aren't trying to convince, if Kyle's a Mac Jones, like, to take another guy, though I don't think he would listen,
Yes,
but
I don't believe you're saying there's no way, if it is Mac Jones, and really you could argue no matter who it is, that it's not a unanimous agreement, right? Obviously, we know Kyle makes the decision, but you'd be hard-pressed. You're saying there's no way the scouts are unanimously behind Mac Jones.
And I would even imagine maybe a couple of the coaches, McDaniels, even hopefully like a Welker. It's a thing. I mean, they did lose. If Robert Saleh was still here, I do think it wouldn't shock me if Kyle was like, had Robert meet with all the quarterbacks for, an hour and get his opinion, right?
Yeah.
Like, he would have been just a sounding board of a guy that Kyle could really trust that he's lost. Like, you wouldn't ask D'Amico to do that, even though he probably could, just being a, high character team captain type NFL player.
Yeah.
But that's asking, it's, I don't know. I feel less sure by the day, to be honest with you.
Countdown's on, baby. We can't speed it up, and that's okay. I'm happy taking our time to get there. You just made me think of something, because the Sirianni, by the way, just as an aside, did everybody see the Sirianni video?
I didn't see the video. I just saw the quote
where he said, like, I got these guys. We did rock, paper, scissors to, competition. See, I talk some trash. If they talk trash back to me, that's good.
Over Zoom.
I assume it's over Zoom. Or all the meetings in person?
No, it would have been over Zoom. What if it's delayed? You're like,
it's a great call. You just made me think of this when you said Wes Welker, because somebody like last week tagged you and I in this video of Julian after Edelman retired. Did you see this, of like Edelman's preseason debut where he's returning kicks? And Belichick, Welker is in a hoodie. Welker's not playing.
I didn't see when people were tagging us, but I've seen this video before.
And Belichick says to him, first of all, Belichick's on the headset. He's like, hey, Bob, like, who's the guy that Lou Gehrig replaced? Like, Wally Pipp, yeah. So then he goes to Welker, and he's like, You
I
you
read.
heard of Wally Pipp? And Welker's like, no. He's like, the guy Lou Gehrig replaced? And Welker's like, oh yeah. And he's like, watch out, you're getting Wally Pipped. And Welker's like, okay. And
This was Edelman's first ever
it's like,
preseason game.
I think it's
right?
his first preseason game. And basically Bill says, like he's taking your job, like on kick returns. And Wes says he can have it. And Bill goes, oh yeah, there's the spirit of competition. It like kind of pissed Bill off. But imagine like judging Wes Welker on that moment, right? Like Sirianni judging a guy, he didn't want to do rock, paper, scissors with me. Must not be a competitor.
And didn't Welker, by that time, 2010, Welker came into the league in like 04 or 03, and he was doing all the returning. So to me, you can have it. He was like a 10-year vet at the time. But I remember that thinking like, God, Bill's kind of cutthroat here.
Bill was kind of annoyed at the answer.
It was true, right? They got rid of Welker and replaced him with Julian.
Yeah, it was true. But it wasn't because Wes didn't want it.
No. Well, Welker went on and was good with Denver. Like, I just think that I wonder if Welker and Bill were just kind of oil and water, even though they were kind of meant for each other in a weird way. Like they were meant to have a moment. Like, do you think Welker was more productive with Tom in terms of catches and just some of his numbers than Jules ever was? But it does feel that Jules was a way more important player. And it might just be as simple as like they played in Super Bowls with Welker. They only got to the one.
Yeah. And
I guess they got to two.
Wasn't he more durable? Julian got beat up. Wes definitely got beat up too, right? Did he have some concussion issues? Or did he
I thought
play
that
a lot more
happened
games
in
than I think?
Denver. Yeah, I think I thought the concussion stuff happened in Denver. I'm telling you, guy, I'm pulling up his stats in '07. Let me read you his 3-year stretch with New England. Coming from Miami, first year, 112 catches, 8 touchdowns. Second year, 111 catches, 3 touchdowns. Next year, 123 catches. Next year, 86 catches. Next year, New England, 122 catches. Next year, 118 catches.
Wow.
I think it's underrated how dominant he was in New England. I remember in Philly, the Dream Team year, we hosted them, and they ended up going to the Super Bowl and lost to the Giants. But they had Gronk, Hernandez, and him. He was uncoverable. Wes was a better individual player than Julian, but Julian feels a little bit more like there are better players than Draymond, but Draymond's importance, like you can't really quantify it. Like I watched Julian. If I had to put like my life savings on like Julian and Tom, I would feel comfortable doing it, right? With
Julian
Wes.
just made in the biggest moments, made some incredible plays.
Yeah, and maybe they just ended up playing in more Super Bowls than the crew did.
Because Julian get the opportunities, but
he went to the AFC Championship game, I think, 8 straight years with Tom, and that wasn't the case. And when Wes was there, even though Wes was, guy, he basically for a 6-year period basically averaged like 110 catches a year.
That's outrageous.
When it was still like I could concuss you over the middle, right?
Right. That's
like
outrageous.
guy, it was like 07, 08, 09. That was like Will Smith concussion movies, didn't it? The lawsuit hadn't even started. I truly believe Wes gets underrated now when you just pull up his stat sheet. Is fucking eye-openingly remarkable. Like he's a borderline Hall of Famer, just stats alone, Wes. And then his first year in Denver with when Peyton's back was good, 111 10 touchdowns. Remember that like Denver the first year was like the best offense we'd ever seen. I think Peyton won the MVP.
Peyton set the touchdown record that year.
He was
What did Peyton,
Excuse me. It was 111 target. It was 73 catches, so it wasn't quite the same. But he did have 10 touchdowns.
But still, Peyton threw 55 touchdowns that year.
Yeah.
Wait, was that the?
Was it 14 or 13?
That was 13. Yeah, 13.
His first year in Denver, after he got cut. I wonder how history would have changed if he would have come to the Niners.
Peyton Manning?
Remember the Niners went after him, right?
Well, remember Harbaugh's plane, the Niners, there was like a plane in Nashville or something like that. I remember I think I was there. Wait, what? That would have been 11? Yeah.
No, it would have been
12.
It would have been the spring of 13. It would have been like January, February, March of spring of 13.
Well, no, Peyton's first year in Denver was 12.
Okay, so then you're right. Wes came his second year.
I'm late to the party, Paige says, but are y'all married to the term ham hang? No, I just thought it was a stupid thing we could put on there today. It is somewhat erotic, though.
Is she making fun of us?
Yeah, I think I called it ham hang today. It does sound kind of weird. Because, like Rob says. Jackson says the Niners just signed two former. Oh, that says, hey, Rob. Niners said Wayne Gallman, and Niners just signed Arden Key.
I kind of liked Wayne Gallman last year whenever I watched the New York Giants. I'm trying to look up his stats. Yeah, I mean, he averaged 147 rushing attempts, 680 yards. I don't hate it.
Catch the ball?
No, it's not. He's got 80 career catches, 20 last year. I could see him playing a little bit. I guess they lost. To me, he's kind of like Telvin Coleman. They cut him, right? So you got, and McKinnon's gone, right? So it's basically Mozart. I do think we saw last year with Raheem, like 17 game season. What are you hoping to get? Like 10 good games out of him?
I'll tell you. I mean, we'll see in a few years. It feels like that just might be a characteristic of being a Kyle Shanahan running back. It's going to be hard to stay healthy because you're going to. One
guy's pretty good is Fred Wilson Jr. If he's like your second or third string running back, he's not a bad little guy. And then with this guy, this is just kind of this is the positive thing about having Kyle. Like you can put together, like you don't need Alvin Kamara. You could just have three randoms and we're like, yeah, we'll rush for 1,800 yards as a crew. Right? That's just how we'll do it.
Yep.
You guys that become dependent on Saquon, he gets hurt, you're screwed. Like we don't become dependent on anybody. That's why we were like, you're a starter, but you're not really a starter. Even though Raheem is their best. Raheem is good. Like, right? I mean, he can fly. In this scheme, he's just tailor-made.
Gallman was fourth in yards after contact in the NFL last year, says Daniel. Okay.
That's a good stat.
That's a great stat. Give him all 10 carries.
Kyle's not really into soft running backs. Usually sometimes the zone runners
the recovery
can be a little softer. But.
Oh, yeah. No, they're not. They're all downhill. Right? Don't they all feel like downhill? I mean, they are all downhill runners, obviously, but tough downhill runners. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Kyle met Lance's parents.
I mean, I'm sure they were there.
Dustin says it's Jeff Wilson Jr. Did you call him Fred Wilson Jr.?
Did I call him Fred Wilson Jr.?
Who's Fred Wilson Jr.?
I got I don't know. What's the middle I met? Fred Warner?
Fred Warner.
I was listening when I went on my walk. I was listening to Russillo's podcast, had on the BYU head coach.
Yeah. Kalani Sitake.
I forgot that. He said he went there to be a running back, and they told him 6 months in, they're like, you're gonna play running back, but we're gonna call it fullback. And he's like, I realize, I line up a little ahead of the running back. I actually don't carry the ball. I just block. I was like,
that's pretty funny.
Yeah,
that's very good. I've got a take similar to that. About another guy. Loving the live stream chat. Yeah. Good to be. Don't forget, Draft will be streaming it live. The Ham Draft Show. And the ham hats are selling. Shanahan hats are selling.
Yeah, and if you want to keep this going, so me and Guy need to go get real jobs and sell insurance or whatever, wineaccess.com/ham. We can just keep doing these. Just go, send some presents to your family and friends, to your wife, to your girlfriend.
Great presents. Great for yourself.
Wineaccess.com/ham. Yeah.
And the beauty is, if you don't know a lot about wine, if you like it, but you don't really know what you're doing, like us, they break it down for you, make it super easy on the website. And then once you get bottles, they tell you all about it, tell you what to have it with. They tell you what you're tasting exactly. You want a $15 bottle? They got $15 bottles. You want $150 bottles? They got $150 bottles. And they're all phenomenal. Everything in between. I've already had 2.
They have it all.
So,
today's Wednesday.
Why,
so we're week away.
Yeah. A week away. Yeah. This time next week, it'll be tomorrow.
sometimes like Wednesday of next week, you just find out like Schefter, the Niners are going to take Mac Jones. Like all sources indicate, like that sometimes happens.
But if you're the NFL, you don't.
Yeah, Adam doesn't work for the NFL though.
No, I know, but the ESPN does have a draft show that they cover the draft, and it does help them if there's some drama. We've already lost we think two picks worth of drama, right? So we got to wait till the third pick now for the drama?
I don't think we've. I do think, was it in Feldman's article? Maybe someone forwarded me. Someone saying basically like, in what world have we just confirmed that Zach Wilson's the number 2 pick? The Jets haven't said anything.
No, I know.
Would it be crazy if like Justin Fields goes to number 2? I had the thought today on my walk. Is it inconceivable to think that it all ends up like Zach Wilson ends up as a Niners pick if the Justin Fields goes 2 and they take him 3? Like one guy with no one.
Did they go to his workout? Did they see him in person?
I think it was way before. I think he did his workout in like February.
Yeah.
So I think, remember Adam Peters went to a game. Remember they played Boise and he was there?
Yes.
I remember that.
Yes.
And they killed Boise. He was good.
Yeah. Boise.
But that was right around
Boise
the time. It's like, they're never going to draft high enough to get him.
Yeah, that's when you're right, the Bows was picking up. Boise had like, their quarterback didn't play, and they had like 15 guys that didn't play that game. NFL Network and ESPN both agreed not to tip picks if their employees get it. Yeah. But that doesn't keep their to John's point, that doesn't keep their employees from tweeting it, I don't think. I don't know. Ernie Esto says, no one has talked about Wilson's ADHD. Wait, Zach Wilson's ADHD? I thought when I clicked this, I thought this was going to be about Justin Fields' epilepsy. But it's about.
Is that what it is?
Yeah. Well, seizures caused by epilepsy. I guess it runs in his family, and the people in his family have grown out of them. I don't even know what.
So he's had. I guess I took the tweet as he had seizures before.
That's how I take it too. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do with that information, but I did not know about the ADHD.
I would imagine that the majority of NFL players have ADHD. I mean, it wasn't that long ago when the Jim Tom Sula era, when you got 15-minute phone breaks, right? Just for all the ADHD players. Remember that? It's like, oh, phone break, 15 minutes. That was a Jet idea that he got from Silicon Valley.
I forgot about that. That's a good one.
Did you know that the Super League was mainly being pushed by all the NFL owners? Kroenke,
so like the Bucks,
Glazers, yeah, like they were too. Well, I don't think the Leeds was invited, but Parag was adamant that the Leeds was against it. It was, I mean, the 3 driving forces beside the Man City or not Manchester United. Like I guess they have a team president, which would be the equivalent in the NFL of like a GM meets a president. It's like an all-encompassing position. He was like the spokes guy, but his main proponents were John Henry and the Red Sox, right? Stan Kroenke and the Glazers.
So these guys bought in at a big number, don't give a rip about soccer.
They don't give a shit about like the second divisions. And one thing that I heard was I used to always say red, but it's just, we got to be honest. I'm getting all my information off podcasts or YouTube, so I either hear or watch. In European soccer, right, like the Cowboys can have 3 straight losing seasons and they could make more money. They are never threatened to get relegated. Well, in major soccer, you can lose a lot of revenue when you have a couple bad years, like sponsorship money changes. So these American guys are not used to the ebb and flow of the money. Like the Red Sox,
they know how much they're making, and they know they're making more.
The Glazers, before Arians and Brady showed up, hadn't sniffed the playoffs for 12 years. Can you imagine how much money he'd been making for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
Doing nothing.
The team was a joke. So I do understand where you go, well, we're the biggest brands, Liverpool, whatever Kroenke's team is, and you're like, we get booted out of this league like every other year? Fuck this. I do get it.
Real quick, just to follow up here, it hurt his ability to learn at BYU. Alfred says ADHD surprisingly common. No, I don't think you or I are surprised by anybody having ADHD.
Well, I have it. Everyone. I think
Have you
most
been
people
diagnosed?
do. I just know I have
diagnosis.
Yeah.
Derek says Alan Faneca. Oh, Alan Faneca had epilepsy? I didn't know that.
Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
I don't really know what epilepsy is. Like when I saw that, I didn't even know what to do with it. I was like,
I don't know what to do with it.
yeah, because clearly he's been playing with it, right?
It's a brain. I don't know if it's like somebody smarter than me in the comments might know. I think it's a little misfire in the brain or something like that. That can happen sometimes. Again, not sure. We are not doctors.
Yeah, I don't think it'll have much to do with anything. Be my guess.
Stop posting fake stories. I don't know. They're in the comments. All right. Okay. Anything else? We just for this ham hang today. Got a good number of people hanging. I wish we had more time, but we got to run.
Yeah, we'll keep you wanting more. Yeah, gotta keep slinging hats.
Keep slinging hats. Promo code ham@gmail.com. Okay, we'll be back. We'll have a pod tomorrow, which means we'll be back here tomorrow.
Remember when Jeter's nephew was like,
"Gift me, shift me." Okay, everybody. Thanks for hanging. We'll be back here on the tube for many days to come, and it's been a pleasure. I'm learning something right now in the comments, by the way, as it comes to medical conditions. So.
A reliable medical group right there.
No more than me, I'll tell you that much. All right, everybody.
Peace.